Good morning. This is high school's April 3rd series. This is Prism. This is week 3 of Prism. This is our Easter series. And so to start today, I want to talk about in life, kind of no matter where we are, what's going on, we always want things that are going to make our life better. We want, to be in a relationship with that really cute guy because, oh, it's going to make life better. Or to get into a certain college, it's going to make life better, to get a different part-time job because it'll be so much better than our last part-time job. We want to quit a sport or make a sport because it's going to make our life so much better. So whether something makes life better or worse is a really great question to ask. And since we only have one life, it makes sense that we want to get the most out of it. So what we want to do is always based on whether we think it's going to make our life better or worse, right? Like that is a big deciding factor in the actions we take. So for a lot of us, we wonder, whoops, there we go, about church and faith. Like, is this spending time and investing in this, is this going to make my life better? Will I be happier? Is it worth it? And we don't maybe ask it out loud because we think, that's not something you should ask. But that question has maybe crossed our minds. And there are people who talk about faith in God like it makes their life way, way better. They use words like life changing. And stories like that are really wonderful and amazing. But you also might have found yourself wondering, is that really possible, right? How can following a guy who lived 2,000 years ago really be that life changing? Or how can a religion with so many rules make my life more fun or more enjoyable? Or maybe even, does faith in God really make your life better? Like, really? Does it really? So, if you're asking the questions like those, or if you've ever kind of considered something kind of along those lines, they're not bad questions to ask. They're actually really good. That's what this whole series is about. Um, and we've been talking about a prism and how it looks so ordinary, but then when you shine a light in it, you see something that you didn't see before. You see all those brilliant colors. Um, and we've been talking about how Jesus is a lot like that. When we take a closer look at Jesus, there's always more to discover, and we can see things that we never saw before. So if you've ever wondered if following Jesus can really make your life better, you're not alone. In fact, thousands of years ago, people wondered whether what God was like and whether following God was good or bad for their life. And that was one of the reasons Jesus came to earth, was to give people a better picture of what God was like. Then when he showed up, he taught, and what he taught and then how he lived was different than what anyone expected. In his teachings, Jesus offered or he often used illustrations that were a part of everyday life back then, so things that people could connect to, um, and that helps people understand the lessons that he was trying to get across. It'd be like, if we heard from a mailman or a car mechanic, right? Like those are things that we understand. So for him, shepherds, that was something that he talked about a lot. Because that was something that people understood in their culture. It was a big part of their community. Shepherds took care of and protected their sheep at that time. It was their job to make sure sheep were safe and that they were in good shape. And in this particular teaching, Jesus refers to himself as the good shepherd, and then we are referred to as sheep. He takes care of us, he moves us where we need to go, he helps us rest in safety. It's a nice little picture and illustration that people would have understood. Then right in the middle of his teaching, Jesus makes a huge statement. He says, "The thief comes only to steal and kill." And this feels kind of random because we were just talking about sheep and shepherds and all that. And yes, thieves were a problem back then. And that, yeah, maybe people might want to steal your sheep. But Jesus here is talking about himself as the good shepherd. How does the thief get to be a part of this conversation? So he continues, and it gets a little more interesting. He says, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." He's making a point here. He's showing the difference between himself and a thief. This is why a thief shows up, to steal, to kill, and destroy. And then this is why Jesus shows up, to offer full life. In other words, you know what a thief is like, but that's like the opposite of Jesus. And honestly, it makes sense why Jesus would say that. The truth is oftentimes that we don't see Jesus as the good shepherd, and instead we're tempted to see him more as a thief. So we think that Jesus might be about stealing fun, like he's trying to take something away from us. He's taking away our fun. We think that following Jesus might kill our relationships or change our relationships with people around us. Or we think that Jesus will destroy our personality and turn us into robots. We're these little Christian robots walking around. We might think that if we follow Jesus, our future is going to be stolen or killed or destroyed, that we have to give up our dreams, give things away, and live like a boring life. But that's not it at all. Jesus is not here to take anything away from us. And that's why Jesus brought this up. He knew that followers would think something about him that wasn't true, so he wanted to take a moment to make sure his audiences had the right idea about who he was. He's saying, I didn't show up to take anything away from your life. That's what a thief does. And I'm not a thief. I showed up to make sure that you have life. And not just any life, but in his words, he wanted to give us a life that was full. And this is an important point. Because of Jesus, we can have life to the full. His goal isn't for us to have less of a life. He wants to give us more of a life and a better life. And maybe in church or on social media, we got the idea that God wants to take away anything we want, anything that will make lives good, but that is not at all true. So, does Jesus wanting us to have a full life mean that we'll get everything we want? Or that everyone will want to date us? We'll have a million different friends. It'll rain Doritos from the sky. We'll never get bored. Never have our feeling hurt. Any of those things? No, definitely not. Does not mean that. But it does mean that we can trust that by following Jesus, he will lead us toward more of what we really want in life. Things like more fun. Maybe you've never thought of it this way, but did you know that God invented fun? God created the part of your brain that lights up when you're having a good time with friends. Happiness and enjoyment were God's ideas. Jesus didn't come to take away those opportunities to have a good time. Instead, he says, let me show you a way to live that brings more bigger joy that doesn't fall apart just because you have a bad day. A joy that's bigger than that moment. The goal was never less fun. It was more fun. Or great relationships. Truth is, we all want really solid, full, real relationships. Following Jesus can make you better at finding those relationships and those kind of friends and being that kind of friend for others. God invented friendship and community. It's part of like who he is, right? Ultimately, Jesus wants you to find more of the right kind of people and have better relationships with those people in your lives. Personality is a big one. Somewhere we get the idea that Jesus wants to take away our personality or make us less interesting. But actually, when you think about it, the opposite's true. God created our personality, right? Like Jesus wants us to use all the ways that we're different, use all of our gifts, our unique talents, and the ways that he's wired us. And the goal isn't to make us like anyone else. It's to be more of who he created us to be. And then what about hopes and dreams, right? Like our hopes for a future. If Jesus probably has bigger dreams for us than we can imagine, right? And he's not trying to hold us back, but he's trying to push us towards those bigger, more full, more fulfilling, more joyful lives than we could ever imagine. So we're not being asked to give up our hopes and dreams. Jesus wants more for us than just giving us what we want right in the minute. He wants us to, he's not like just a vending machine or a genie that grants us 3 wishes. It's a lot deeper than that. It's not a game. He wants us to lead a more peaceful, joyful, purposeful kind of life. He wants us to have stronger community. And that makes it really awesome when we can have these really full lives. I think that what Jesus was getting at in the passage that we looked at today is that he didn't come to steal or kill or destroy. He came to give us that life to the full. So how does that work? How do we connect with that? How do we make that real? First, saying yes to Jesus for the first time. That's always like the first step. Maybe you've always thought Jesus was angry or boring, or that following him meant life was going to be miserable, but definitely not. What if that isn't true? What if there's another view of Jesus based on who he really is, and there's a better view of Jesus that could change everything, right? For others, those of us, we've already said yes to following Jesus, right? Say yes to the things that Jesus says yes to. So I think this is where a lot of us are at, but as his followers, so much of what he commands us to do benefits us and makes our lives better. And it also makes the lives of the people around us better. So looking at the words that Jesus said, the things that he taught, and if we follow those words, that can help us live life to the fullest. And then another one, say yes to serving someone. A ton of research shows that serving someone else actually makes our own lives a lot better. And that's actually something that Jesus called us to do quite a bit in a lot of his teachings. So it's not like this serious, no fun thing. It can be really wonderful and make lives full of joy and great. So volunteering to work in the corner kids. A lot of you do that, and it's wonderful, and it brings you joy and it brings them joy. Volunteering to maybe help an elementary middle schooler with their homework, volunteering to work with elderly, volunteering for a mission trip. Like, there's so many things that you can do where you're serving people in small ways and in big ways that can bring you a ton of joy and help your life be more full. So identify something and try it this week. So people don't always talk about Jesus like this. Sometimes they make him seem more like rules and boring, and he'll ask so much of you. But no, when we know Jesus, it really does change everything. Because of Jesus, we can live a very full life. And so this is something that, again, try one of those things. Say yes to what Jesus is teaching. Say yes to serving someone, and you'll see just how full your life can be. So awesome. We have one more week of our Easter series, and so I will be back with Prism week 4.